Hi, we're going to talk some more about plants. Today, we're going to review how to build page 14 and 15, and we're going to go ahead and hit 18 while we're there. So I'm going to be talking about the structure of a plant. So I'm going to show you how I want you to set up pages 14 and 15. I'm going to do that by sharing my screen and showing you this PowerPoint that I built for you. You see it? All right, so let me open the slideshow in full. All right, there we go. Plants and photosynthesis. So like I said, this is going to be for pages 14 and 15, as well as 18. And it's based on the book, Oh Say Can You Seed? There's the YouTube of me reading this book to you. We're going to be talking about parts of plants, the purpose of each part, flowering plants and non-flowering plants, uses for plants, identification of plants, as well as photosynthesis. This is a lot of information, but you already know a lot of it, so you're good. The next page, root system. All right, so this is what I did. You can tell by my page that I put a title across the top, and then I drew a line about halfway down the middle, and the bottom half is the root system. And the root system is the parts of the plant below the ground. It's called the root system. The purpose is that roots anchor the plant, gather water and materials. You'll see that on the next slide. So I've written all that right here. Here's my root system. You can see it written on the side here. I've labeled it and I've listed the purpose. Now, that is all the root system. Let's talk about the shoot system. The shoot system is on the top half of the page. The shoot system includes the parts of the plants above the ground. All right, so you can see the tall stem that I made, and there's a stem. The stem supports the plant and carries the water. So be sure you list that as you're drawing your stem. The leaves gather light for photosynthesis. Big word. You're going to spell it several times, so you'll be good at it by the time we get there. This is all the shoot system. See it in red right here on the side? All right, then you have fruit, and these green beans I drew are the fruit. The plant has created green beans. The part we eat and contains new seeds. That's the fruit. But you can't have fruit without a flower, so I've drawn some little purple flowers. And the purple flower says, bees pollinate flowers to create fruit. So I thought we should give a little bit of attention to the bees. So I drew a bee over here and I wrote buzz on the side. Bees need nectar from flowers to make honey. Pollen sticks to their legs. If it falls off and reaches the eggs, then plants make fruit. Example, olives, nuts, beans, grains, and fruit. So anything that a plant makes is classified as its fruit. Even tomatoes are classified as fruit because they start off as a flower. Oranges, bananas, apples, all those kinds of things start off as a flower. And if it weren't for the bees, it would never get pollinated and it would never become a fruit. And so we really, really like bees. Now, here's another thing that I have drawn at the bottom, and I wrote dirt. Organic material. Organic material is anything that's in the ground that was once alive. So that is not plastic. That is not metal. Organic materials are things like dead leaves, grass, sticks, decomposing material, and including animals. So it could be if a baby bird died or something, an old squirrel, whatever, then their fur, their bones, their leftover body becomes part of organic matter, and all their carbon and their nitrogen goes back into the soil and fertilizes the soil for the next user. Next, the next page. Let's go to the next page. All right, here we go. Oh, whoops, too many. Go back. Flowering plants versus non-flowering plants. I put a YouTube link on there. It's a hot link, so you can click on it and go there when you open the PowerPoint. All right, flowering plants produce new seeds in their fruit. They have to have fruit to have new seeds. And then you can plant the seeds and you get a new plant. But then there's non-flowering plants, and you're thinking, well, how do non-flowering plants make new plants? Well, a lot of plants that are non-flowering in Florida include the fern family. And if you look on the back of a fern leaf, they have little round dots on the back, like in the picture, and those are spores. And spores contain everything that a plant needs to be a seed. It's not classified as a seed, but it acts as a seed. So when these leaves fall on the ground, then they get planted again. And that's why you see so many ferns in one place, is because they are all fell there. And you see how many seeds, how many spores are on the back of that fern leaf. So that's really amazing. Now I took another picture of my root system up close because I added a little part there that says non-flowering plants. And I'm sorry, it kind of got all jumbled there in the fold of the book. And I tried to draw a fern leaf. You can see my little spores on the back. Ferns don't make seeds. They don't make seeds, but on the bottom of their leaves, they have spores. They fall and make new plants. So if you can squeeze that information into somewhere in your root system on that page, that would be fabulous. Squeeze it in there somewhere. Now, on page 15, you need to list the top half is for your leaf collection. I want you to physically go outside and collect about 4 or 5 leaves, especially if you can figure out what they're from. So if you have a bush out front, maybe somebody in your family knows what kind of bush that is, and you could say, oh, this is an azalea leaf, or this is a boxwood leaf, or this came from my oak tree. You could take a leaf and list. That's all you got to do. Glue it in, nice and flat. Now, I will tell you that the greener leaves are easier to use because they don't crack in half. That even if you find some weeds, you could glue a leaf on from weeds, but be careful not to get one with too many little pokies on it, because I don't want it to hurt you. Now, the next box down at the bottom left says favorite plants. This is where you would list your favorite. Now, my favorite plant is probably the cocoa leaf, because that's how you make chocolate. And let's face it, I love chocolate. Another favorite plant I have is the orange. I love oranges. It's one of my very, very favorite fruits. So are strawberries and blueberries. I could list those. I love carnations. That's my favorite flower. I also love to see roses. I love all kinds of plants. So just pick 5. For me, it would be very hard, but you get the idea. On the right side of the lower half, it says uses of plants. And we actually discussed that when I was reading the book, Oh Say Can You Seed, because you are probably wearing clothes that were made from a plant right now. I have on jeans, which are made from cotton, and cotton is a white puffy plant. It's the fruit of a white puffy plant. We also use paper to write on, and that comes from a plant. So there are so many uses for plants. They make medicines from plants. We just have so many uses. I don't want to say anymore because I want you to have to explore a little bit on your own. You can go back and re-listen to the YouTube on Oh Say Can You Seed, and it will tell you the uses of plants. I kind of left you a little extra space in case you wanted to list more than 5. I would challenge you to list more than 5 if you choose to. All right, the next page. We're skipping 16 and 17 because 16 and 17 is your plant growth experiment page. So I'm passing that one by, those 2 pages by. And we're going to page 18, where we will be sharing photosynthesis. This is how my page started out. You can tell that I turned my book sideways and I wrote photosynthesis across the top. and it is the process of a plant making its own food. It is the only creature on the entire planet that makes its own food. A plant is the only creature in the entire universe that makes its own food, and that makes plants super cool. This is the page from the book where it talked about photosynthesis. These are the 2 pages and the words that I wanted you to see. You are welcome to go back and revisit the YouTube where I read you the book on photosynthesis. You can also watch this YouTube link. It's hot, and it will give you a really good breakdown on photosynthesis. This is my book. On the left, it's the beginning where I drew the sun, I drew a leaf, I drew the sunlight coming into the leaf, and I drew the water coming in through the leaf. And then on the back of the leaf, it has these little holes, and they're actually called pores, like the pores on your skin. And they are just like on our skin. They are little holes where the CO2 goes in, the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. It goes into the leaf on the back. That all put together, sun, the water, and the CO2, plus a couple other things, all equals food for the plant. And then out the top of the leaf, it gives us oxygen. So you can see on the right-hand side that I added oxygen coming out. I also put plants breathe out the O2 that we need. Hug a tree, I love plants. So that is the photosynthesis process. And I think that's the end of our PowerPoint. All right, so I want you to pay attention just for a minute about the photosynthesis process. It has air going in and air coming out. Actually a chemical, carbon dioxide going in, oxygen coming out. Those are chemicals. We do the same thing, because this is a little heads up for you. On the next page, we are going to be comparing plants to animals. Of course, we are an animal. Plants and animals both breathe. So we all need to breathe. That's going to be one of the both items in your categories, because it's going to be a double T chart, and you're going to be comparing plants and animals. So one of the ways that they are alike is that we both have to breathe. I'm going to close this out and stop sharing with you for a minute. So if you have any questions about pages 14, 15, and 18, I know that it's out of order, but I really wanted that science experiment right in the middle so that you would have it handy and you could glue in the Word document if you chose not to press print. If you don't have a printer, you can just write it in there. Be sure you're measuring your plants. Check on your plants regularly. Make sure they need water, and don't drown them. Don't drown them. And we're measuring our plants on Wednesdays, so be sure you're recording your data so we can continue with our experiment. Get your pictures drawn. Send me a notice when you're finished. Take a picture, text it to me, show me, whatever you want to do. Email it to me. Keep up with your little book. This little book is so handy, and we're about to have we're going to be ready soon for another quiz on our plant experiments, as well as our parts of a plant, flowering and non-flowering, spores, listing all your favorites. You can't get it wrong if it's your favorite. As long as it's a plant, you can't get it wrong. And then your photosynthesis. This is what your graph is going to look like. Your compare and contrast on animals and plants. Very simple, but you're just going to have to fill it out. That's page 19, and then we'll be doing animals next. So life science. It's a lot of fun. So come back when you get a chance to see the next video on life science. We will be going into animals. So there's 5 types of animals. Do you know what those 5 types of animals are? That's going to be your challenge. Can you name the 5 types before I teach it? See you then.